Hello Capricorn, welcome to the Plaid Sheep Oracle. This round of readings, I've been pulling a card from the Mystical Shaman's Oracle and using that as inspiration for the reading. I was intending to do Sagittarius today. We've been going in order this round, starting with Aries. But Sagittarius just didn't want to come out. I laid out two spreads and I couldn't make sense of either of them. So I moved on to you, Capricorn. And interestingly, there's also a reluctance happening for you. But your message, I understand. So we begin. The inspirational card is this Earth card. Very appropriate for you, Capricorn. Earth sign that you are, the sign of all things physical and 3D in the world. But I think the actual call for you is to be less earthy. To step out of that comfort zone. We begin here with this Two of Pentacles. Again, very earthy. Certainly a very Capricorn-y key. It is traditionally Capricorn, the first decan of Capricorn. The 2, 3, and 4 of Pentacles, the cardinal earth. Keeping everything together, keeping everything organized, making order out of chaos, making sure the books are balanced. These kinds of activities are very what we think of as Capricorn. And it is true that since I started this channel, there's been this theme of stepping out of the prescribed box for each of the signs. As humans, we certainly, right, we like to categorize things. I mean, astrology is categorizing things. But things can get too narrow, right? Our ideas, right? Astrology influences our lives, right? The archetypes, but the other way is also true. How we live and the philosophy that we're having in the current time also affects how we view the signs. And something I was thinking about recently is that astrology was developed by and for men. An influential top of the social ladder men. And there is a bias that exists, I think, in astrology. I'm not going to expound on the whole thing here in your reading, Capricorn. But these biases show up, right? So Capricorn has really come to mean all things that one might actually describe as patriarchal, perhaps, or as, the ruling idea, right? That Capricorn is, government and institutions. Right? It's associated with the 10th house, which is all about achievement and things that are seen publicly, right? It's the most public house. Possibly the house of legacy, right? What you want to leave behind, what you want to be remembered for and known for. But that eliminates kind of an entire aspect of the sort of the origins of Capricorn, right? The Capricorn is not the mountain goat, but the sea goat. So there's this climbing, achieving, 3D aspect. But then there's also this sea aspect, this mystical, feminine aspect. Capricorn is an earth sign, traditionally more on the right feminine and masculine. And I know that we have a lot of issues around these terms in our current moment. Everything is very fraught around these terms. They've all taken on political and social baggage that they didn't have, and they certainly don't have in nature. Nature is unconcerned with these things. Nature knows that we are all made up of all of the elements, and that we express one element or a couple more than others, that we all have our own mix. That we are, right? An animal is an animal self, right? It's not concerned with, you know, right? The fox is not concerned with what the rabbits think about it. Think about her. You know? The queen bee is unconcerned with what we think about the hive system. She just is. She does what she does. She doesn't have baggage around who she is and what she does. But we do. Yeah. And that, you know, that makes us kind of, right, it's interesting. It's interesting how society has mixed and changed over time. I kind of don't want to, put too much judgment on any of this stuff. I think it's all process, all experience. But it does seem as if now the energy is calling for a reassessment of, how we have divided these things up and how we've boxed up the signs. Made something like Aries very masculine, right? Mars leaping into action. When there is, other aspects of Aries. The childlike aspect. To see the world with wonder. And I think for you, Capricorn, this balancing, keeping the books balanced thing has gotten old. Right? It's time to see things differently. But I think you're reluctant. And I don't blame you. I don't, right? We're all, it's a tricky thing to step out of these accustomed places. So you begin here with this Lady of Cups, the Page of Cups. And she's sort of preoccupied, right? She kind of doesn't know what's going on, right? She looks a little bit confused. She's kind of holding her head. She's looking out. She's, right? You know what you want, Capricorn, right? You want a new start of some kind, a new idea, a new wave to come through. right? Something just new, something that's interesting and exciting. But you're seeing it, right, from this airy perspective. And I do sort of associate air with Capricorn. Also with Virgo as well, of course. But with Capricorn, not so much in the mercurial kind of mental element in that way, but in the kind of calculating way, right? Capricorn is the accountant, as the person who puts things in order. I know a Capricorn who, or rather a Pisces who had a strong Capricorn influence of both Saturn and Venus in Capricorn in the first house. And although she had a very soft Pisces quality to her, she also had this, strong Capricorn thing, right? She used to put little labels on her pens that said, please return me. I belong to, right? She wanted things in order. Her own mother had kept account books for the house that were down to the penny. And, she kind of absorbed this. So this is sort of what I think of as the airy quality or of Capricorn. I mean, it is kind of an earth thing, right? To keep your resources in order. But, right, there's an air quality to that, to wanting numbers to line up. But what you're really looking for, right, is happiness. And again, who could blame you, right? Emotional fulfillment, all of your cups overflowing with happiness. It's lovely, Capricorn. I think you should have it. But you're out there, you're looking for it. In kind of a heady way. Right here, the Hermit Virgo, that kind of magician Gemini-esque thing. And this is sort of another aspect of that way that we can box things up, right? Virgo is, right, the magician and the hermit, right, are sort of Virgo's keys. But this is also, right, a very airy, one might say masculine energy. And Virgo is an earth, is an earth sign. There's a feminine aspect of growth and nurturing and service, of tending the flame. There is a high priestess aspect to Virgo, not just to Pisces. So this is kind of what I feel like we need to, we have all these correspondences and things, and they're useful. But, I feel like there's, right, that we just want to like brush over the whole zodiac and kind of mix things up and see how things connect and shift and move into one another. How opposite signs are synergistic and complement each other. How even signs that are next to each other and often have difficulties, can really assist one another. So you're searching, Capricorn, for this cup, this very structured cup, right? In this deck that has this whole building inside the cup instead of having water in it, right? There's water around, but the cup has a building in it. And I think that what you're not realizing, Capricorn, is that you have the cup, right? It's on your head. right? It's like having your glasses up there and not knowing that you've put them there. You have the cup. But cups are difficult in our culture. You know, go ask anybody with heavy water influence, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, right? There's lots of, you know, pop culture and otherwise baggage for them too, right? It's about, you know, emotions overflowing, you know, being an empath who has to protect themselves. There's this, right, sense that water must be protected. You know, that it's soft, and movable and mutable. But of course, water has that other side, right? Soft as water, hard as the raging flood. Water is not weakness or excess vulnerability. It may be, here's this Five of Cups, it may be that something has happened to you in the past. You know, the image in this card is Arthur, who was betrayed by Guinevere, his wife. She had an affair with Lancelot. So there's betrayal in this particular Five of Cups. And loss. But there's also desire, right? We see that, right, these two are together. You know, there's this kind of idea of, you know, the heart wants what it wants. And sometimes that means that someone gets hurt. And of course, I'm not here to advocate, right, cheating on one's partner. But if you are in a situation where you don't belong, then you need to go, even if that means that somebody suffers. You do it with integrity. But this grief may happen possibly as a result of somebody following their heart. And I think that this may be in the back of your mind somewhere, that going for, right, that doing the heart-based, perhaps cup-based thing may be harmful to you or another. So you're here in this Nine of Wands, just sort of sitting. Because you can't move. If you have this fear of hurt, either hurt to yourself or that you might hurt somebody else, then, right, you really can't move. You're kind of stuck where you are. If there's, you know, a fear of the unpredictability of water. You know, earth in theory can be made predictable, right? You can bake it into bricks and build a building with it. Right? Things that are solids kind of stay where they are. But if you mix a lot of water in, you can get a mudslide. Right? You can get a flood, you can get, you know, all kinds of unintended change. I'm going to pause here for a second, Capricorn, and move around and close the window. because there's drilling outside. And hopefully that will attenuate it and not be annoying to you. So, where was I? Yes. So here you are. This Prince of Sacred Circles, the Knight of Pentacles, remaining still. You're kind of waiting for something. Inspiration, right? You're waiting for this Ace of Swords. This idea to drop down from somewhere so that you can, right? So that you can find this happiness that you want, but without the risk. All right, here's this Eight of Swords. I mean, she's really totally free to move through. Right? These swords, right? It's kind of a gauntlet, but there's nobody holding those swords. She can just walk through there. All right, it's her own mind and all the fears that keep her from moving and keep her from moving into here, right? Because this is darkness. Watery, unknown darkness. And I think you really don't want to go there, Capricorn. The next underlying is this Imam Shelley, the bottom of the natal wheel, and traditionally Cancer, right? With Aries as the natural start. The fourth house is Cancer's house, your opposite. And for many of us, the seat of difficulty, right? This fourth house space. Our families of origin and all of the miscellaneous stuff that happened to us in childhood. Where all the fears are. The monsters under the bed and in the closet. In this watery, moon-based space. But you are being called to something else, Capricorn. Because what we have now is Sagittarius. This exploring, adventurous, seeking energy. Right? Whether you have placements in Sag or not, you do have Sagittarius in your chart. This exploration, this natural 9 house energy wants you to come out and play. To really, right, this first house, which the autumn says arrival. But I think the first house, right, is kind of a lifelong journey, right, to really come into ourselves. That was the title of the Scorpio reading, Coming Into Yourself. Coming into your own, rather. But also coming into yourself is to come into your own. To really embrace all of yourself and to choose to step out of whatever labels others or you yourself have given you. And they may be, you know, labels related to being a Capricorn, or they may be labels, you know, related to being something else. You know, maybe you're the competent one or the strong one. But, you know, you might also be the quiet one, or the studious one, or the funny one. Even, you know, when you don't feel like laughing, but you feel the need to make everybody else laugh. Whatever the label is, throw it off. there's this Mercury card next, and I was particularly drawn today to the fact that these two snakes are, first of all, different colors, and kind of, you know, sort of having an antagonistic moment, at least in the card as it shows up today. So this, I think, is a representation of your mental confusion and what may be going on in your own mind, as part of you strives to be released. Any parts that you've kept hidden. I mean, we call that, right, the shadow, right? We talk about doing shadow work. Of integrating the shadow. But really, right, that's about acknowledging all of the sides that we have. And some of them are difficult, right? Things we don't really like to have. You know, pettiness, cynicism, sarcasm, passive-aggressive tendencies, these kinds of things. But there's also beautiful things that were just tucked away into the shadow because they didn't fit the box at the time. And I feel as if these things are now wanting to come out. And it may be a general resurgence that we're seeing of yin, of the feminine energies, of doing things differently, of the more phlegmatic and melancholic virtues being seen, so that we can be balanced. So here you are, lying under the ice, Capricorn, and this horse is coming for you. It's time to wake up, to go on this adventure into unknown places. Right, I love her red umbrella. This, right, this little bit of passionate energy. And then the sun melting, dripping over the earth here, wanting to warm you, to melt what may have become stiff and rigid. And then the underlying is this storm, the cleansing storm of water and emotion. So that, I think, I mean, this seemed certainly like, partly like advice, but also partly like energies that are coming. Kind of whether you will them or not. This horse energy I'm noticing today, right, is 33, which is a kind of completion master number. I mean for these readings to be timeless, but I am filming this the day before the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. And I think that we make both too much and not enough of eclipses. And by that I mean that we emphasize certain things and then we don't talk about other things. Which may, right, again, be all part of this thing that we have, this air that we breathe in and move, and that sometimes we don't even see, right? How our thought patterns and our biases and our assumptions show up in how we describe a sign, or how we talk about an aspect or an event, a transit that's happening. So this eclipse in this Taurus-Scorpio axis, it is with Uranus in there going, right, there's going to be disruption to earthy things in our lives. That may be money, That may be the earth herself. That may be other resources. It may be our bodies. It may be our rigid thoughts, how we, have structured our thoughts. Right? The moon is in conjunct Uranus in Taurus, but trine Capricorn and Virgo. So whatever placements you may have in Capricorn may well be trined and are kind of energetically trined, even if the number isn't exact. Right? We get caught up about that too, right? Is the aspect or the transit exact, or is it within an orb? But I may be really right about the energies, right? This earth to earth trine, that this energy of emotional renewal and change happening in Taurus can flow easily into Capricorn and Virgo. So I think that some of this is going to happen whether you are kind of ready for it or not, Capricorn. So I asked for some specific advice for you. And the underlying is the devil, who is traditionally Capricorn's card. So here you are showing up in your reading, but in this particular deck, the Santa Muerte deck, where the devil is not so much about, perhaps chained up thoughts or addictions or, self-sabotaging behavior, but about devil as adversary, as one who ignores and really doesn't care at all about the rules, may in fact break the rules with glee. That is part of the satanic churches, Satanism's idea. It's not about, Satan as, an evildoer or a sadistic being, but Satan as the adversary, as the one who disrupts the status quo. And this is an aspect of the devil. Pluto has been passing through Capricorn since 2008. He has been, right, disrupting ideas, right? He is the god of the underworld, kind of, right? Saturn is often thought of as the devil, right? He's Capricorn's card, but Pluto is king of the underworld. Also has, right, ties to the devil. So this disruptive, subversive, pleasure-seeking, almost watery devil, right? The, sex and pleasure and breaking taboos, all of that is inherent here and is part of your advice. And then the bottom three cards, right, or the three cards that came out, are the Page of Swords, the Queen of Cups, and the Queen of Swords. And actually on the bottom of the deck, I always look, though I don't always mention it, is the Knight of Swords. So there's all this air energy, right, that is useful, right? It's useful to be able to hear what you need to hear, to get the information that you need. It's very useful to be discerning about ideas that come your way, to be able to know what it is that you want, to cut away anything that is extraneous and that, right, that you don't need, to be clear in your own mind. But the center card is the Queen of Cups. And she's offering you this heart. So this is the this is the path forward. You have to look in your own cup, Capricorn. You have to take this cup down off your head, where it's all caught up in your thinking mind, and really, right, look into the cup and see what, right, what is there? What is it that longs to be expressed? What watery ideas, what emotions, what perhaps philosophical ideas, what consciousness, what creative ideas want to be expressed. I mean, that's really where, right, where you're going to find this new idea. And it may be that during this eclipse, or perhaps another aspect if you're watching this much later, will give you the impetus, right? This horse is coming. And, right, the advice is really to allow it, to not resist, to release your rigidity, and allow this water to flow and arrive. I wish you all the very best, Capricorn. I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting to encounter a whole aspect of yourself that maybe has been hidden all this time. And I want you to have a great adventure as you do it. I'll see you next time. So long, Capricorn.